Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Today I'm working on another one of Scott's fishing flea market finds. Say that 3 times fast. This one is an older one. It's a Penn 930 Levelmatic. It's a nice reel. It's one of the first editions of a round bait caster. It's one of the last editions as a round bait caster. Penn got in and got out of freshwater fishing. This one's actually a good reel for inshore ocean fishing as well, but we have a problem here, and the problem is that the line guide worm is not turning. This line guide also is out of its track, and well, I'm going to be placing an order for some Penn pieces and parts, so this is a good time to do a diagnosis on why this reel is not working and get the appropriate parts if needed. So the first thing we want to do is well, we want to take off the exterior pieces. We're going to do that by removing the 3 screw plates, the 3 screws on the side plate of the gear side. When I take them out, I want to pull, make sure that those screws are all the same size. And they're not. So, maybe they are. That one is. For some reason I was thinking one of these is a longer screw. But I guess I was wrong. There you go. Alright, they are the same size. That should release the side plate. It does. The first thing I want to look at is are all the gears turning in here? And they are. This thing is doing what it should be doing on this side. This is not the side that drives the line guide. The line guide is driven by the other side, but you want to make sure, particularly if you've got a reel that's not performing correctly, that well, you're doing your best to make sure everything is working. For example, if this wasn't turning, wouldn't be turning the spool wouldn't be turning the worm gear. So we'll take that, and I'm going to just put that in the basket for a moment. I'm going to remove the spool. The spool has 2 brakes on it. These are centrifugal brakes. They help to reduce the speed of the spool evenly so that you can eliminate some bird's nests with that. Well, the next thing we want to look for involves the side, and I can see the issue right here, but one of the ways to test to make sure that you know, this is your idler gear for the reel. It has 2 pieces. It has a top piece that's driven by the spool, and it has a bottom piece that's driven by a spool, and a top piece that turns the worm gear. This one is quite obvious. It's missing the teeth on the worm gear right there on the drive. So what we want to do is we want to take this off. We want to see if there's any other damage in here. Again, you're going to be ordering pieces and parts. There's no sense to say, well, that's the obvious one. It's missing a piece. Let me go order that, only to find out there's a secondary part in there that you didn't do the full diagnosis of, and that causes you to, well, go back and order again. Causes you to delays, and it also causes you to spend additional monies on shipping and things like that. All right, those 3 come off. There's a good place to tell you, if you're working on your fishing reels, one of the things you want to do is you want to take pictures. The pictures are going to give you the orientation of the pieces and parts, the order that you took them off, and well, just as importantly, the order that they go back on. For example, we're seeing here that we need to line up the groove, and that this plate sits on a kind of a raised pillar, so that you want to keep that square as well. I want to do that because I'm going to continue to test this. We're going to remove that side plate, and I want to take the worm drive now, and I want to turn that. And that is very tight. So what that's telling me is there's a turn, but it's not very good. It's telling me that the worm gear's pawl, let me get these 3 screws from the side plate and put those in the clutch tray for a moment, that this pawl may have been what caused everything else to get sheared. And I may need to buy a whole line guide assembly to correct this issue. Well, the cap is moving, so that's always a good thing. So let's pull that out. And then we should be able to get the pawl out. And yeah, this pawl is, well, you can see it's just rusted kind of beyond comparison now. I don't know if you can see it. I can see it. It's just got a tremendous amount of rust and junk and the like in here. You can see it's just probably was rusted in place from what I can tell. And so we're going to need to get a new pawl. Well, that's what I was saying before. Just don't assume you got one small issue. You may have two. Well, let's see how the worm gear turns now. We're looking for these pieces here to turn. And, well, it's turning easier. But this line guide is going to need to be cleaned up as well. So we're able to turn the reel. The worm gear is able to turn. And what we'll do, I'm going to take this all apart because that's the way I'm going to be able to service it. But we want to make sure that all of this turns free and easy as we go about working on it. This one is very tight. That's what's causing this to be that way. And I assume that we're going to find as we go in here that there's a lot of rust or corrosion on the inner workings of that sleeve. So we're going to polish that off. We'll get that working. Here's what ultimately failed. So we found the point of failure was a rusted pawl. Well, when you try to drive something that's going to turn that line guide assembly into pawl, you're driving it from the spool, and if that piece isn't turning the worm, well, it's shearing it off. When you take a reel like this that's got broken pieces on it, you need to do the inspection. I can see at least 4 teeth. 1, 2, 3, 4 of them that are inside the case. Well, you need to make sure that when you do the replacement of this worm gear, that those teeth are accounted for and that it's totally cleaned. If you leave those teeth inside the case, if you just simply go to replace this idler gear here, if you just go to replace that and you don't take the time to clean all these little fragments that broke off, there's 2 more. They're going to get in here and then they're going to wind up jamming the mechanism. The other place you want to check for that is right here. And I can see that there's at least 1 in here. These teeth on that gear intersect with the teeth on the drive here. And here's a tooth that got caught right in the middle of it. So you need to make sure that as you go through this, every one of these teeth are clean and clear and don't have the fragments from that broken gear. So we're going to have a reel in a bag project with this. We know we need to order a pawl and a idler gear in order to solve this issue. Now there's one more place you got to check. We know that the spool drives the line guide assembly. Well, this is the gear that drives the idler gear that drives the worm gear. Just inspect here. Now, this one's metal, the others are plastic. So the plastic ones typically are a fail-safe. They're the ones that are going to break. But I've noticed on some of these reels that I've worked on, like a Penn 209, for example, that the old teeth get broken and get solved in here. And on some of these, this is actually a plastic gear, and that plastic gear breaks. So before you put all of these pieces aside, waiting for the new parts to arrive, you want to make sure that the assemblies are clear and that you've done a thorough inspection of all of the pieces and parts associated with those issues before you go and order the replacements. So I hope you've enjoyed the beginning of that. This will become a reel in a bag project. We'll go order those pieces and parts. We'll come back, put this reel back together again, and I'm sure Scott will have a great opportunity to enjoy this one fishing inshore. To our first responders and essential personnel, thank you for everything it is that you do to keep us safe. I truly appreciate your efforts. To everyone, please stay safe, stay well, and stay watching. This is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Have a great day.